welcome back. In our previous video, I touched upon the terms used in the financial aid process and some scholarships to look into as well. Today I will be covering two major financial aid applications to apply for, the FAFSA and the CSS. Let's get into it. Let's review the FAFSA and the CSS really quickly. FAFSA, or the Financial Application for Student Aid, is required by all students to fill out if they are seeking grants, work study, or loans from the government. As for CSS Profile, it's a financial aid application used for certain institutions and private scholarship programs in awarding their own aid funds offered by College Board. Unlike FAFSA, the CSS Profile caters to international students as well, but it has an initial payment of $25 to apply, and then an additional $16 for other documents. However, if eligible, you can get a fee waiver to skip these price tags. The FAFSA and the CSS is such a big deal, and it is important to understand because you'll need to reapply each year for your aid at your institution. Now, let's get into how to apply for the FAFSA. When visiting the FAFSA website, they have multiple resources on what is needed and how to apply, but I'll break it down here. As FAFSA is for U.S. citizens or eligible non-citizens, international or undocumented students are not eligible for federal aid, although you are still eligible for state or college financial aid as well as CSS Profile. You can skip to this timestamp for more information. When filling out the FAFSA, you should create an FSA ID. This ID is basically your legal signature and can be used to save your progress and use when reapplying for FAFSA. The FAFSA usually takes about 1 hour to complete, but if you need to come back to it another time, your FSA ID can be used to begin where you left off. If you have a parent who may be helping you fill out some of the information on your FAFSA, then you'll need your own FSA ID, and a social security number is required when creating an FSA ID. However, if you believe you are not a dependent student, you will report your own information rather than you and your parents' information. Alright, it's getting hot in here. This could be a blooper.
Just cut it.
No, it's fine. Lily, you know how to make this funny, right? Yes. Say ID as soon as possible. This is because you need to submit your FAFSA on or after October 1st every year. Most deadlines for the FAFSA are by February or March, but every state and school may have their own financial aid deadline, as well as award aid that comes on a first-come, first-served basis. Thus, it is imperative to create your FSA ID and complete your FAFSA as soon as possible. To create your FSA ID, please visit this link and you'll see Complete the FAFSA form. There are two buttons, one for new students and one for returning students. For our seniors, click on the button for new students. This will allow you to create an FSA ID and fill out the FAFSA form. Now, what's needed for the FAFSA form? Have your social security number at the ready and your parent's social security number, driver's license number if you have one, alien registration if you are not a U.S. citizen, tax documents, records of untaxed income, and information on cash. Make sure that when you are typing out your social security number, it should match the number you have on the card. I will go more into detail on everything for each step. First step, you'll be creating a save key, a temporary password, in case you want to come back later and finish completing your FAFSA. With your save key, it will allow you and your parents to access your FAFSA anywhere and at any time. Second step, list out the colleges and/or career fields you want to receive your FAFSA information. These schools will use your FAFSA information to determine what type and amount of aid you may receive. While it doesn't matter how you list it, some state aid requires you to list a state school first to be considered for state aid. Kinda funky, I know. You can list up to 10 schools to receive your FAFSA info, and if you are applying to more than 10 schools, that's okay. Wait until the first schools you have listed have received your FAFSA, and then replace them with your other schools. You can check by those schools' portals or when you receive your SAR, S-A-R, aka Student Aid Report. It doesn't matter if you haven't been accepted yet. Still list the school you are planning to apply to so that if you are accepted, that school's financial aid office can help develop an aid fit for you. Third step is reporting you and/or your parents' information. I mentioned earlier that if you are a dependent student, you'll have to report both you and your parents' information. However, if you are an independent, you will be filling out the FAFSA with your own information, so not your parents' information. Depending on your household circumstance, the parent information may change, and that's okay. If you have any more questions on this, more information is linked below, but here's a graphic provided by the Federal Student Aid. You can pause the screen if needed. Fourth step, providing financial aid. Depending on if you or your parents filled out their taxes using the International Revenue Service, or IRS, you will be able to access the IRS Data Retrieval Tool, or IRS DRT, to transfer that data directly to your FAFSA. However, those who are not eligible, such as those who are married and filed a marriage filing separately, married and filed as a head of household, change in marital status, or filed a Puerto Rican or foreign tax return, will have to input their tax return manually. Depending on when you are filing the FAFSA, you'll use the tax information from the year before. For example, if you are filing the 2022 to 2023 FAFSA form, you'll use your 2020 tax information. The tax information you typed manually will be visible on your student aid report. However, if you use the IRS DRT to transfer your data, the tax information cannot be changed. If you want to change something, you'll have to use the IRS DRT. You can select the Reset FAFSA at the top only if you haven't submitted the application yet. However, by resetting your FAFSA, your whole application will be cleared as well, and you'll have to type your information in manually to make those changes. So the fifth step, sign and submit your FAFSA. Be sure to recheck your application, because any mistyped information could change your financial aid package from your school. Once you've checked all your information, submit and check for a confirmation that your form has been submitted. What if you accidentally make a mistake on your FAFSA application, or your situation has changed? Go to fafsa.gov and click Log In. This time, click on the My FAFSA page and you'll select Make Corrections to change your information and submit it. Once you've submitted your FAFSA and received your SAR report, most schools will require you to do a verification process. This process is basically to confirm that the financial information you have provided is correct. In this process, the school will request you to send in additional documents, and you have to scan them and turn them in before the financial aid deadline. So for example, I turned in my citizenship form to show that I am a citizen of the United States. You can also use the login and enter in your FSA ID and click FAFSA Renewal. So if you are a returning student, with this, most of your non-financial questions will be pre-filled for you, but be sure to update anything that has changed since your last year. Not so bad, right? Well, it may seem plain as day. Financial situations can change, such as the pandemic. For example, if the school you apply to participates in federal student programs, you may be able to receive a COVID-19 emergency grant, which may cover expenses like food, housing, course materials, technology, healthcare, and childcare. More information will be located in the description below. One application down, the next one to go. Let's move on to the CSS profile. As stated before, unlike FAFSA, the CSS profile is available to everyone. However, there is an initial payment of $25 to apply, and then an additional $16 for other documents, but if eligible, you can get a fee waiver to skip these fees. So what makes you eligible for the fee waiver? So this is determined automatically once you log in. Students who have a family adjusted gross income up to 100K, those who have been qualified for a free SAT waiver, and the students of an orphan or a ward of the court under the age of 24 are eligible for the CSS profile fee waiver. However, the amount also changes based on the family size. So like if you have a family of 4, you have a total income of $45,500, you are also eligible for a fee waiver. This fee waiver will cover all the schools you will later select. Okay, change of scenery. Before you start applying, check with schools who do require a CSS profile. Some schools do require a CSS profile because it allows them to see your true financial needs. And also some schools have their own, which are oftentimes alternatives to the CSS profile. An article is provided below for some of those schools. Just like the FAFSA, the CSS profile application opens on October 1st, but like every school, each state has their own deadlines, so submitting the CSS profile as soon as possible will make sure you secure that bag. So let's get started and break down the application process. The first step is to visit csSprofile.org and log into your College Board accounts. Since the CSS profile is hosted by the College Board, you'll be using the same account you use for your College Board exams for the CSS profile. If you do not have a College Board account, follow the instructions to create an account. So the second step is to select a proper application year. So if you graduate in May 2022, you would select the year 2022 to 2023 as a graduating senior. And the third step, click on Getting Started, filling out your citizen status, demographics, and student status, and your social security number. And just to be aware, your social security number should match the one you have on your FAFSA as well as your CSS profile. And as for the student status section, make sure you're the one who is filling it out and not your parents. And the fourth step is to fill out the parent section. Be sure to list all the parental units, including step-parents and any parents who have passed away. You can list up to 4 parental units in this section. Based on what you have listed in this section, it will influence your next section. Fifth step, fill out the information for residence, which determines which parent you currently reside with, their marital status, year of marriage, and county and zip code of where they reside right now. Sixth step, select the schools you will be applying to. Make sure that you don't accidentally choose a graduate school if you are a high school senior. If you want to double check that you are listing the correct school, search up your school's CSS code number. Type this in when searching to get a direct search for your school. If you accidentally choose the wrong school, this can delay your CSS profile application. Seventh step, it is time for your financial information. This section will include questions about you and your parents' tax returns, untaxed income, assets, dependent members, and other real estate. Whoa, that's a lot of information. Don't fret, if you got through the FAFSA, the CSS profile is just the same, just a little more special. Even though it may sound like a bunch of mumbo jumbo, we'll use the same information used in FAFSA. Based on the type of tax return you filed, the questions will match when applying. However, for non-tax filers, there will be no tax form questions, so the assets required are basically the values and debts you may have. Dependent members is where you list any siblings and any other dependent members within your household. Last of all, other real estate is where you would list any business, farms, etc., anything where your household may have an income from them. Step number 8, write any special circumstances you may have. This is your chance to write about any financial situation your household may have, such as the pandemic. This is a free form box that allows you to type up to 2,000 characters and helps you to communicate with your school's financial aid office about your financial aid. Ninth step, submit your CSS profile application. Once submitted, you'll be getting your confirmation, and if any additional document is required, these can be included in the Institutional Documentation Service, or IDOC. Note that many aid applications that require the FAFSA are not complete until the IDOC has been submitted. Just like FAFSA, if you accidentally mess up or make a mistake, and if there is a change in your financial situation, you can go back to your CSS profile and click Correct Your CSS Profile on your dashboard. And you're done. Not so bad, right? Yeah, it's kind of bad, but it's your chance to earn free money, so just take it. Hopefully this video has been helpful in breaking down these 2 applications. The resources used are located in the description for you to go and access and peruse the details on the process, as well as other frequently asked questions. In our next video, I'll be talking about activities and awards and how you can present yourself and your achievements to schools. Until next time, have a nice day, everyone!